Good afternoon, and welcome to Radio Bula Masti as well as ShanaTV.com. I am your host Aisha, and you are tuned in to www.radiobulamasti.com. Yes, the future is friendly.
In a world of technology, the future is online. Tune in to www.radiobulamasti.com. radiobulamasti.com.
Yes, of course, the future is friendly, and you are tuned into radiobulamasti.com, and I am pleased to welcome Miss Sonia Andhi from NDP. She is a candidate running in the coming up election, and Sonia Andhi is running as a candidate through the NDP party in the Surrey Center region. Sonia, I would like to welcome you. A warm welcome to Radio Bula Masti. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Aisha. I am doing well. Things are great on the campaign trail, and it's a good day. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sonia. And let's start with telling our viewers and our listeners of Radio Bula Masti and ShanaTV.com a little bit about yourself and who Sonia Andhi is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a social worker. I am a mental health counselor. I am a community organizer. I'm the founder of Shakti Society and Shakti Awards. I've lived in Surrey Center for the last 15 years. So I work here. My kids have gone to schools here. So Surrey Center is my community. I'm very attached to the community. I'm very passionate about the community. And I believe that we need a strong voice for Surrey Center. And I have put my name forward to be that strong voice for the folks in Ottawa.
All right, great to hear, Sonia. And so tell us a little bit about what inspired you to run in the federal election. I know Surrey Center is your home, and you're very passionate about that area. But what inspired you to get into politics?
For sure. So Aisha, as a social worker, a mental health counselor, as well as, working in the community for all these years, the work that I do, I find that I do it, people are struggling, they may have challenges. So I work with them and, I provide them resources. We try to find solutions. But what I've seen that the challenges and struggles that people have been facing in the past few years have been increasing steadily. Mm-hmm. And what I am doing is really putting Band-Aids to address issues which have really reached a critical point at this point. Mm-hmm. Where I feel like it's not just enough to put a Band-Aid on it. They're not going to work anymore. Mm-hmm. So we're in a crisis mode, whether it's a housing crisis, whether it's affordability. And so I want to be in a place where I can affect change. I can help long-term solutions come up. And those come from government, those come from Parliament. And that's why I decided I have to be in that position where I can be a stronger voice for the people here.
That's amazing, Sonia. Great to hear. And I love entrepreneurs. I love leaders, that are so passionate about helping our community and our people. So, Sonia, here's a question for you. There are different parties. What inspired you, and why did you choose NDP?
I've always been aligned with the NDP ever since I came to Canada. So back home in India, my father was a freedom fighter. So we've always grown up with the values of justice and fairness and equity and equality for all. And I feel that the NDP really embodies those values where they fight for the regular folks, not for big corporations, not for ultra-wealthy people, but really for people like you and me. And so over the years, ever since I came here, I started to volunteer with the NDP on different campaigns. So I've pretty much volunteered on every campaign for every NDP MLA in Surrey, some MPs as well. So I think the values for us really align well. And that's why I believe that the NDP is the party for the people. And I think it's time that the people took the power in their hands, use their power to vote, and elect a government that will really, truly represent them, and not just, a certain class, not just the ultra-rich and the billionaires.
So you are in tune with what NDP party is all about. You've been around with them. So what are some of the issues that are important to people in the area you are running, which is Surrey Center?
Mm-hmm. I said the big one is affordability. We am hearing it all the time that everything has increased. House prices have skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
They have increased by over 300,000 in the last 6 years during the Liberal government, and even prior to that. And it's not just buying a house. It's if you want to rent a house, people can't afford rent either. So I hear stories from people where they're at the risk of becoming homeless because they don't have enough money for a down payment, but they don't even think they can afford rent. And these are professionals that I'm talking about, Aisha. So, nurses I've spoken to, teachers were saying, we don't know how we'll afford this. So affordability, I would say, is the number one issue. The opioid crisis is also something that we've been dealing with for quite some time. And the mental health crisis is another big concern.
Mm-hmm. So we always talk about, yes, we want to change this, we want to change that, we have our platform. How will NDP deal with the housing crisis? What are some of the actions you guys have in mind or on paper, basically? What is the plan to reduce the cost or make it more affordable?
Absolutely. So, for housing, we have to look at, one is just the supply. There's not enough of a supply, so prices go up. So we're committed to providing affordable units of housing, at least 500,000 affordable housing units. The other thing we want to do is we want to lift GST on homes that are meeting affordability standards. So any homes that are being built that will be affordable homes, we will not be charging GST on those. The other big one, Aisha, is the foreign home buyers tax. There have been a lot of foreign investments. So they're investments. These are not homes where people will live. The foreigners have been buying homes as investments. So we will be charging a 20% foreign home buyers tax. And this is, just the other day I was at Hawthorne Park, and, a couple, they said, yeah, we can't even think of buying a home. And they said, what are you doing about foreigners? Because they're just buying homes and they're just sitting empty, whereas we just need a home for ourselves to put a roof over our heads, and we can't afford it. So those are some of the key things. And then rent subsidy is also something that we will be providing. If you know, rent has steadily increased in the last 6 years especially. And so we will be providing a rent subsidy of up to $5,000.
Okay. So let me ask you this question, Sonia. What has NDP done? I mean, house prices have been coming up for the last so many years. And it keeps increasing, it keeps going up. I hear and I see that, townhouses are worth like close to $1 million here in Surrey, and especially in the Surrey Center area. A 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom townhouses are close to $1 million, $700,000, $800,000, and prices have been creeping up, not slowly but quite fast. What has NDP done so far, and how can we assure or reassure our people that NDP will actually put actions in place instead of just saying that this is what's going to be done?
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is something that the NDP has always fought for people, like how do we make people's lives better? How do we make them affordable? And so our leader, Jagmeet Singh, has always put people first, and he has said, let's make lives affordable so that we're not just talking about housing. We're looking at student loans, no interest on federal student loans. We're proposing that we forgive student debt because students are really struggling with the increased cost of tuition. So, when we talk about how expensive everything is, we're looking at housing, we're looking at tuition, we're looking at groceries. So one of the key things that Jagmeet Singh has been proposing is keeping more money in people's pockets so that we have more money to spend on these things that right now we're not able to, such as, so we're proposing universal pharmacare, which means that you will not have to pay for your prescription medication. You will be covered for that. And that, I think, is huge for anyone who does not have extended health benefits. Because, if you're covered from work, you don't have to worry about your medication. But if you're not, which is a large percentage of the population, and especially seniors, because they have limited income, they're retirees, they don't have extended benefits. So they sometimes have to make the choice, like, should we now keep this money to buy the medication or pay for rent or food? And again, I've been listening to a lot of seniors who are saying we have to make that difficult choice, and it should never have to be that.
Now, I was going to ask you a question right there is, okay, that's fine. People that are working, they have medical, great coverage benefits, but that benefit only lasts so long. As soon as you retire, your benefits are pretty much done. So you don't have the full income anymore. You're living on pension or however you have invested, and it's hard to invest nowadays given the cost of living is so high. How can we I mean, I hear lots of promises from people, from candidates, from different parties. How can we assure that this is going to be done and seniors and students are going to be taken care of?
Aisha, the NDP has been proposing this for many years. Like, when we talk about universal pharmacare, it's not a new thing. We, in fact, Jagmeet Singh put this bill on the table in Parliament to say, let's vote on this, let's get this. And in the last election, the Liberals had promised that they would provide pharmacare. And yet, when it came to the vote that was put, so the NDP was all ready to get this going, but the Liberals and the Conservatives voted it down. They voted against it. So we are ready to take action, and we are ready, and people are saying that this is going to be such a huge help for them. So once we form government, these are promises that we will deliver. And that's something that, if you look at Jagmeet Singh, like the things that he talks about, he gets results. So whether we look at third benefits, Mr. Trudeau was only going to give about $1,000 of benefits, but it was Jagmeet Singh who said that is not going to be enough to support people. We need to double it. Same thing with wage subsidy for small businesses especially. He fought for that to make sure that businesses were supported so that they could remain open. And in the meantime, Aisha, the big businesses, the ultra-rich, the billionaires, they made huge profits during the pandemic. And when we proposed, let's tax them, let's at least have them pay a fair share of their taxes, both the Liberals and the Conservatives have voted against that as well. So we have been trying and I have to say, Jagmeet Singh has been able to get a lot of the benefits already without being in government. So, it just shows that we're not just talk, we're not just pretty words, we will take action.
All right. So how will NDP pay to support all these, to pay for all these supports and programs? And I hate to see that, yes, we get all these benefits and stuff, but again, people that are working, we work hard, long hours, we pay higher tax amount, and then on top of that, the taxes keep going up. The government's going to have to get the money from somewhere, somehow. So how is this party going to afford all these things that is being promised?
And I will say, Aisha, that the NDP is the only party that has a plan that is saying this is how we will pay for it. Because just like you said, this is the number one concern that people have. So, you're going to be giving all these benefits or even the recovery from the pandemic. How will we pay for it? Will our taxes increase? Because that is typically what happens. The Liberals and the Conservatives, they raise people's taxes. But we are saying if we go after the ultra-rich, the extra wealthy, the billionaires, and tax them and make them pay their fair share, we close the loophole so that they can't just write off all their expenses. We will be able to get a huge amount of money which will be going into the economy. And, the Parliamentary Budget Officer has ascertained how much that amount will be. But if we're looking at like even around $60 to $70 billion a year that we would get just from taxing the ultra wealthy, that is what our plan is. Let's tax people fairly, but let's really tax the corporations who have been getting away without paying any taxes.
Okay. I have another question. Does NDP has any plan to support the immigrants?
Yes, absolutely. The immigrants are such a big part of, we're all immigrants, at least I'm an immigrant. So, we absolutely need a lot of support for immigrants. Number one thing is we want to address the backlog. There is a huge backlog in the parents and grandparents program. So we want to make sure that families who have been separated, they're able to bring them in. We want to end the lottery system. We want to make sure that there's recognition of foreign credentials. I have been a victim of that, where when I came here, I had a BA from back home, and then I came here, it was evaluated to a grade 12. And that just changed my life, Aisha, where I was like, okay, I'm not going back to school, and especially seeing how expensive university was here. So, and we know of so many professionals who've come from other countries and their credentials are not recognized. We also want to make sure that immigrants are getting fair wages, that they're not being exploited by employers here. We want to regulate even, agents, any kind of immigration, people who are supposed to support new immigrants. We want to make sure that those services are regulated so that people aren't being exploited. And, immigrants really get to come here on a fair basis. Because right now the application system is so confusing that most people usually have to turn to someone else to help them fill out the application. And then sometimes that leads to fraud, that just leads to people having to pay a little bit extra, which they shouldn't have to. Like, it should be a much simpler process.
Very true. Thank you, Sonia. So lastly, I have another question for you is, what would you like to say to the people of Surrey Center? And my biggest thing is there are so many other candidates. Why would we vote for Sonia Andhi?
Yeah. So a few things. I feel like one is it's time for change. We have seen that there have been a lot of broken promises in the last 6 years. And also what tends to happen is, so people get fed up with the conservatives and then they vote the liberals in, but they have broken promises year after year. So it is time for real change, time for a party that has consistently shown that they work for people. And if you look at track record, like my track record, I have been a community organizer, a social worker, helping and working with the folks in the community for the last 30 years. So this is not something where just because it's election time I'm saying, well, if you elect me, then I'll show you what all I can do. I have already proven that I am committed to the people. So I've always advocated for people. I've always advocated at different levels of government to make sure that people's needs are met. And lastly, the NDP is a party for the people. Jagmeet has already shown that he will fight hard for the people and he will get results. So things like pharmacare, things like affordable childcare, business support, despite being in the opposition, Jagmeet has brought benefits for people that have been affected by the pandemic. So I just think of, this is what's possible, that we will bring about a change, but also especially it will be for people, like regular working people, not the ultra-rich, not the billionaires, but, regular working people like you and I, who work 2 or 3 different jobs, try to make ends meet and do what we can, and just doesn't ever feel enough. That's got to change. And that's why I say, if you vote for me, you know who I am, you know what I stand for, and I stand for the people of this community.
All right, Sonia, very well said. Thank you very much. And once again, you're tuned in to radiobulamasti.com as well as shanatv.com, SHANA TV.com. And we have Sonia Andhi on our platform today. speaking about what she can do for the community. And Sonia Andhi is one of the candidates from the Surrey City Center running for the NDP party. Sonia, thank you very much, and we want to wish you all the best and all the success, and you go girl, and help our community and serve our community to the best, and wishing you all the best, Sonia.
Thank you so much, Aisha. I so appreciate this opportunity and your support. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you once again.
Bye-bye.
Keep listening to radiobulamasti.com. I am your host, Aisha, and stay tuned for